Good morning. How's everyone doing? All right, excellent. It is a true honor to be here representing Girls Prep as a strategic partner of NCGS, and a very special treat to participate in the fireside chat with the great Billie Jean King, who you're going to be seeing in just a few minutes. My name is Ian Rowe. I'm the CEO of Public Prep, the nation's oldest and only network of tuition-free, all girls and all boys, public charter elementary and middle schools in New York City. We now have 6 girls prep and boys prep campuses in the heart of the South Bronx and the Lower East Side of Manhattan. We serve nearly 2,000 students from pre-K through 8th grade. And we actually have a few members of the Girls Prep family in the audience. I just want to thank them, so please just stand. Emily Zayaski, Jana Katz, Louisa Frick, Jessica Strong, Shay Stevenson, and Josie and Francis out here. They did presentations yesterday. Thank you for everything that you do. I also want to honor Sarah Weisberg, who's the chief scientist at BioBus, which is one of our partners as we are on a quest to develop the next generation of female engineers, scientists, and mathematicians. So the first Girls Prep was actually founded in 2005 on the Lower East Side as the first and only all-girls public charter school in New York City. I'm proud to say that Girls Prep has now had 5 graduating classes of 8th graders. We have nearly 500 alumni, and those first girls who started in 2005 as kindergartners and first graders are now attending and have been accepted to some of the finest colleges and universities in the country: Yale, Spelman, Howard, Wesleyan, Tufts, Brandeis, and the impressive list goes on. That's applause. At Girls Prep, we name our classrooms after amazing women. We call these amazing women namesakes. For example, Toni Morrison is one of our namesakes. And just yesterday, I had the pleasure of seeing Suleni Sabillo Arzu, who is one of our graduating 8th grade students at Girls Prep Bronx. Suleni is in the Toni Morrison class, and Suleni loves writing. And yesterday, one of New York's most powerful city council members, Vanessa Gibson, came to address our graduating 8th graders to talk to them about power and the role of women. But Suleni first said, well, I want to present my girlhood essay that she completed as part of her 8th grade capstone project. So Suleni started off with a booming voice. Who rules the world? Girls. Who rules the world? Girls. It was a rousing speech about how Girls Prep had prepared her to be a strong, independent young woman, cognizant of the challenges in front of her, but confident in her ability to compete at the highest level. I share Suleni's story because that's why we are here today. How do we create a future to develop the next generation of bold, intelligent, empathetic female leaders who will rule the world for the better? And I can't think of anyone better to have that conversation with than Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King is also a namesake of a first grade classroom at Girls Prep Lower East Side. Billie came to Girls Prep just 2 weeks ago, her 3rd annual visit. Actually, her first annual visit, she visited on the same day that Oprah Winfrey visited our school, so we had a lot of star power on that day. But once again, our first graders at first they were in awe to meet their namesake. And then as they listened to Billie's story, they realized, you know what, wow, she had similar fears when she was young that I do today, and maybe I can do all the things that she can do and even more. Among her list of accomplishments as one of the greatest tennis players ever to play the game, Billie has long been an advocate for gender equality and has been a pioneer for equality and social justice. To learn a little bit more about Billie before she comes on, please take a look at this video.
As Billie Jean once said, we should never, ever underestimate the human spirit. We honor what she calls all of the off-the-court stuff to change how women athletes and women everywhere view themselves, and to give everyone, regardless of gender or sexual orientation, including my two daughters, a chance to compete both on the court and in life.
I don't think that it's a stretch to say that Billie Jean King is the single most important person in the history of women's sports.
She's been the biggest influence in my life outside my family.
She wanted more for not only women in sports, to give them an opportunity to come and play on equal terms, but also the way we guys look at women now in the boardroom. Nobody gave it more than Billie Jean King.
Among the many things I find so impressive about Billie is her steady and frankly lifelong dedication to challenging and changing things that most people would just accept. Her honesty, courage for doing the right thing, but definitely not the easy thing.
Billie Jean always says this: champions adapt, and pressure is a privilege.
I really wanted to start getting the hearts and minds of people to get in alignment with this idea of equal opportunities and rights for men and women.
Along with her being so revolutionary, she's so important to me because I wouldn't be able to play on the WTA Tour without her.
What makes her such a role model to all of us is that she has never veered from her core values.
In '74, Larry and I were involved in forming World Team Tennis. We have men and women on the same team, and that's what I want the world to look like. And we thought doubles should take precedent over singles because it's a team sport.
Billie's organization teaches us the power of collaboration and teamwork.
We really wanted whoever's playing to experience leadership role and a supportive role.
It's all become a big team game. The world's problems cannot be solved by individuals anymore.
I don't think there's any question in this century that the two most significant cultural athletic figures are Jackie Robinson and Billie Jean King.
What I admire most about Billie is what she didn't just do for tennis, but what she did for all females just across the board.
She has probably done more than any woman in the world to empower women and to educate men. If you have the heart of a champion, if you have the heart of Billie Jean King, you can belong, you can prevail.
Shine the light, shine the light. Shine the light, let you shine the light. Got me a friend, I love.
Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you. Thanks. Oh boy.
Hello, Billie.
Hi, Ian. You superstar, you. How are you?
Oh my God.
I'm reading your bio and knowing you now a little bit. Boy, you've just begun too. You're a young guy.
You're just begun. So it is such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. We have in front of us some of the most amazing people around the world who have committed their lives to developing amazing young women. And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to talk about some of your thoughts on why that's so important, particularly now. So I had the pleasure of seeing you just maybe 10 days ago when you came to visit our first graders.
So cute.
At the Billie Jean King namesake classroom. And in fact, when you first walked through, we had some of our older girls, and as she walked by, they said, "Oh my God, it's Billie Jean King," because they were first graders several years ago. And so we have this entire generation of young women who intimately know who Billie Jean King is. And so you talked a lot to them about leadership and being all in. Why has it been such a passion for you for so long to really focus on developing leadership qualities in young girls?
Well, before I start on that, I just want to thank each and every one of you, because you're going to, you never know how you're going to touch another person's life or how they're going to touch your life. You just don't know. And I know you've touched many lives and made such a difference. And sometimes, I think when you're teaching young people, you don't realize it. Sometimes they'll come back to you when they're older and go, oh, I just remember you. I can tell you in my lifetime, I had my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Hunter, my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Bamrick, 9th grade teacher, Mr. May, and my 12th grade, my final year, my senior year in high school, Mrs. Johnson. And these people changed my life for the better for all time. And these people are so important to my life and who I became and who I end up. I'm not finished yet, but
not by a long shot.
It's just amazing. And so I want you to know when you wake up every morning know that you do make a difference. Have fire in the belly to go do it right every day, and make contact and do the right things by them. But you make such a big difference in the different roles that you play in education for these girls. So I just want you to realize how important you are, because sometimes I think teachers, administrators, principals, all the different people that are connected to education are not thanked enough. You're definitely not paid enough. That I can tell you. So I just would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I know what it did for me in my life. And so I'm just one of those little examples, so thank you. So I think it comes from the leadership is that, first of all, I didn't understand leadership in elementary school or that, although you know what used to happen to me? The kids always chose me to be the leader.
Why do you think that is?
Because followers choose leaders, leaders don't choose followers. Whether it's on the bicycle committee or the whatever, Billie, you do it. And I go, no, I don't want to do it. Typical girl, always, oh, no. Girls are taught to be perfect, and boys are taught to be brave. And so the one thing that I think going to a single gender school can do for girls is that if you can teach them, first of all, you don't have to be perfect. And boys, by the way, the men that are here, you don't have to be brave all the time either. It's baloney as well, okay? If you can teach them, here's what a girl does all the time. Sorry. Or where are we gonna go eat? I don't know, what do you wanna do? I still do that. I'm so girly that way. I go, where are we gonna eat? Oh, I don't care. It's like we can never make up our minds. Another thing I found through the years.
It took us 5 minutes to decide which seat we were going to sit in.
No, I go, what do you like? I said, what do you like?
But I said to you, where do you want to sit?
You and I are like, you must have a feminine side to you. So anyway, it's like another thing that we say, like even in sports, like when we play doubles, the girls are always saying, sorry. The boys never do. They just go, high five, let's go. They're fine. Another thing is, girls will say this to me. I go, well, what do you do? And they'll go, I'm not any good, but I like X, Y, and Z. I'm not any good. They'll always preface it. And then they'll say what they like. And then if I ask the men or the boys, they go, well, I like this, that, and that, but I wasn't, I didn't make the major leagues in baseball, which to you that are not from the U.S., that's a big deal here to be a guy who plays Major League Baseball, okay? But I couldn't hit a curveball, so I couldn't make the majors. But that's not saying, he's just analyzing where his strengths and weaknesses, girls, it's never good enough. They have to stop it. And part of leadership is having that understanding of yourself and others. But if we can get women, girls, to stop apologizing all the time for themselves, I think that is one of the most important things we do. That's another reason I like girls to go into sports. And I don't care if they're any good, but they learn to navigate the world that we live in, because boys created these sports. Girls didn't create them, boys did, mostly. I shouldn't say that, you know what, I'm not sure. Anyway, most of the time, I think at least 85% of the time, I think I'm safe. That boys develop these sports and they develop their culture. So we learn how to navigate business. We learn how to navigate the way the world's been teed up. It has been teed up that way. And it's helped me in so many business situations where I'm maybe the only girl or woman or a couple other women, and it really helps. So these are the things as you see these young girls and all these, that you just, if you understand that they're not supposed to be perfect, it'll really take the heat off of them. You know, it's really important though.
Well, sometimes because of these issues, folks get overwhelmed because we all have a desire to help young girls and boys, but particularly young girls, and it can sometimes feel overwhelming, right? And so are there practical things that people can do? So for example, a few years ago when you came to our school, and we were talking about some of the challenges that our girls were facing in early reading. And one of the discoveries we had wasn't because of their innate ability. It literally was because at kindergarten or in pre-kindergarten, they weren't diagnosed because they needed glasses, right? So something so practical and an impediment we were able to solve. And I know that's something that you have had your own experience with.
Right, when I went to the girls' prep, I went into, it was 3 or 4 years ago when I first went, probably 3 years ago. And I noticed a lot of the girls are squinting when they're looking or looking far, and I'm going, they need glasses. I know. It takes one to know one, right? So I said, I talked to somebody I talked to that.
It's probably Ann Lackritz, our principal at the time.
Anyway, I just said, I think a lot of the kids need glasses. And so I said, I'm very happy to help you with that forever. So that's kind of my thing with the schools. But those are little things, or if they're dyslexic, or if you can find out early, get them diagnosed, I think that helps too a lot. Because anyway, I went back the next year and a lot of them had glasses. They said about
and our reading scores went up.
No, but did they go up? They said about a third, I think, of the girls needed glasses. That's a lot. So I just think when you're in the classroom, or if you know the teacher that's ahead of the class, just little things like that, just to be aware. And you know, when I was growing up, they told me I couldn't be number one if I wore glasses. I got really upset. I don't like it. And if I see a little kid, a little baby with glasses, and a lot of times they've had eye operations or something, I always talk about their frames. I don't talk about their eyes. I go, oh, those frames are so cute. Oh, I like those frames. Maybe I'll try to get something like that. Or it just and they just light up. You know, they just light up. I always think it's important to find what the gifts. We're all given these gifts in life, these strengths in life. In sports, we say, "What's your strength?" And I think if a teacher particularly can identify that in a child, I know when I'm coaching or around young people, I try to figure out something really positive I can say to them. So I always look for their gift or their strength, and I tell them, "Oh my gosh, you're really good at something," you know. And they go, and they just light up, and their shoulders go back, their self-confidence and self-esteem goes up immediately. So it's really, I think, important to be positive, because even when I coach number ones in the world, even I ask a lot of questions when I coach to see what they know, what they don't know. And just try to have a discussion and having that human connection, that's everything, I think, to children. I think they just want to be loved and cared about and just have, it's really pretty basic stuff, but it's amazing how we forget sometimes.
Yep. I mean, one of the reasons that we name our classrooms after namesakes, you know, these typically amazing women, is that we want to ensure our girls have exposure to incredible women who might light paths that they could never have conceived were possible in their own lives.
Well, how about the day that I went, and how about in Oprah Winfrey's the 4th grade?
Yes.
We actually were there the same day, we didn't know it.
Yeah.
How amazing was that day? Whoa, for Oprah to be there?
Right,
And
Oprah was saying, "Oh my God, Billie Jean King is here."
No, she wasn't. So we go only the school I go to at Lower East Side Prep it's only 1 through 4.
Right.
So I'm getting the baby. They're really sweet. But
Yeah. So did you have your own namesakes when you were growing up in terms of role models that helped you?
I think it's a huge the more you know about history, the more you know about yourself. The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself. I love history. As a child, I could not get enough history. I still read history, or at least nonfiction a lot, because I love biographies. I love people's stories, because every single one of you have a story. And they're always interesting. And if you're getting bored with somebody, that means you're not asking the right questions. I think, personally.
That's pressure.
I think. What do you find? Well, Ian.
Right.
What do you find is the most important thing for leadership?
Yeah. Right.
No, but for your own journey, didn't you have some people you?
Oh no, absolutely.
Did you like history at all, or not?
I am fascinated by history. It's
because it does repeat itself all the time.
Yes, it's crucial.
Yeah, but I just found a lot of my she-ros for the girls and he-ros for the boys, and now we have other gender identification, which now I have to, they or whatever, I have to keep learning. That I find, what were we talking about? I was thinking about something else.
We were talking about your own experience and role models that.
Oh, right,
that
okay,
helped
the more about
influence
history
you.
and all that. So, then I found that just reading about people could inspire me. And then in my own life, I told you the 4 teachers. Then I had Reverend Bob Richards, who was the minister of the church I went to, from the time I was about 11 to 15, which is a crucial time, I think, in children's lives. And he won a bronze medal in 48, 52 and 56, he won the gold medal in pole vault in the Olympics. Can you imagine every Sunday, he always brought sports into his sermon. And he made you think you could do anything by the time you left. Wow. He was so inspirational to me, I cannot tell you. And of course, I could read about him too. I mean, they had books on him, so it was just, and he was the first man that was on the Wheaties box. For US people, you know what I'm talking about, the Wheaties. I think he was the first person ever on the front of Wheaties. Breakfast of Champions, so he was really inspirational. And then every time I meet somebody, I really try to connect, because you can get she-ros and heroes and other people from so many different areas of life. My parents were also very important to me. My mom and my dad. My younger brother, Randall James Moffitt, played 12 years of professional baseball. And my parents were fantastic because they were not helicopter parents, hovering all the time. Explain it to other people who don't understand what that means, please. It means you're always suffocating your child. You know how parents always want them to do well, or they live through their children because they didn't achieve what they wanted, so they want their kid to do it. Oh my God, I see that in everything, whether it be school, in straight A's, or athlete, or a musician, art. I mean, it's just never good enough, certain parents. They just derive their children. But I think that it's just really important that the child pushes the parents in that case. My brother and I, my poor parents, we pushed them. And the reason Randall and I made it is because we had free access to the public parks. If we didn't have that, and then we also had coaching that was free at the parks. I can talk more about myself in this area, because a lot more attention was given to boys when I was growing up than girls. But now that's starting to shift a little bit. But in fact, you're going to help the shift. Exactly. You are going to help that shift. So I think it's really important just to be supportive, kind of let people find their own way. And there's a lot of different careers now. It's not like the old days.
No.
And the one thing I know about girls' schools, 6 times better in STEM, 3 times better in engineering. And that's where all the future jobs are. So I think what you're doing is amazing.
On the STEM point, at Girls Prep, it's always amazing to me. We're one of the few schools, public schools, that actually offers science 5 days a week. starting in kindergarten.
You mean they don't have science every day?
In a lot of schools, science is often,
Gotta have it every day.
deprioritized. No, but it's how else do we develop and cultivate a love of science and math if you don't start really early?
How do you think you become a great athlete if you don't do it 3 times a week?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter what we do. If we do it 3 times a week, we're not going to be the best we can be. There's no way.
Right.
It doesn't happen like that.
So you've mentioned a couple of times different men that have played a role in shaping the vision of what you wanted to accomplish. What do you think the role is of men more broadly in this conversation of advancing opportunities for women?
Well, men usually have the power, the higher positions, so overnight they can change things really rapidly. Just, first of all, how they think and how they...
Do you think that that's true?
Well, I can tell you in business, I'm in business a lot, okay? So I'm in business a lot with sponsors and throughout my life. And the CEOs that want to say they're going to get equal pay for equal work can do it immediately. If you're the CEO, you can do it like that. I think in education that's different. You got to work with a lot more people. You got to look at your landscape.
I often say to my team, I'm just the CEO.
No, you have sometimes it's government.
Yes.
But it's government, it's city, it's unions, it's non-union.
Yeah, you've got to negotiate
I know that.
heavily.
But if you're a CEO of say a big company, you can do it overnight. Mark Benioff for Salesforce did it overnight. These 2 women came to him, Cindy and Layla, and they said, "You keep talking about equality." Yeah. And, well, we're not equal. We're not. Show me the numbers. She had them ready. Be prepared. He goes, well, that'll change tomorrow morning. Okay, we'll change that. And then they bought 14 companies. And he said, go check the culture, because usually you inherit the culture when you buy a company, right? So not one of them was equal pay for equal work with the gender and race, but particularly gender we'll talk here. And then, so he took care of that overnight. So if you go work for Salesforce, you know as a girl or a boy, it's equal, go. And they have such a great environment because of that. I've talked to the kids away from the CEOs and all that, the young ones, the ones that are just getting started. In fact, our nephew loves it. He wants to work there. He's going to try anyway. But that's really important. And then another case is the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative is working with Starbucks. And they just did a study of equal pay by gender and race. In the U.S., they were like at 99.5. They were really up there very high. And they'll just make that little. Now they're looking at the rest of the world at Starbucks, whether they're doing the same. And they will make that good once they get the results. They want to know what is. And they're going to take the system that they use to find out the information and offer it to any company in the world. So they're putting this time, effort, and money into it. But they're going to give it because they think we have to have it equal. And this is where men can really help. A perfect example, went to Starbucks. They said, can we get our women leaders together? Yes, we got in a room. And Vivek Varma, who is the VP of Public Affairs, there were 2 men in the room and about 10 women. And that makes a big difference too. So we started talking, and women are hired on performance, and men are hired on potential. And this is a Wall Street Journal, which some of you are shaking your heads, so you probably know this. Women on performance, men on potential. That's another thing, just as you know these things, how you're going to teach the girls how to think. So we were in this discussion, and we went around, and this is a typical, okay, this is a guy looking at job opportunities. He goes, I can do 5 or 6 of those. I'll bluff the other 3. I'll get that job. And here's a girl looking at it. And one of the women in this group said, I had all kinds, I could do 9 out of the 10, but I was worried about the 10th. And this is how Vivek stepped up, because he wanted her to take this job. She says, I don't know if I can do that 10th one. Isn't that ridiculous? The guy thinks he's going to bluff and he's going to get it, right? It's like, tell your girls they don't have to be perfect. So anyway, he said to her, which was brilliant, take this job. I will not let you fail. So he made her take it. And that's where men can help. If they're in charge, or if a woman's in charge, you can do the same thing. Whoever has the power. So I think those are kind of things we have to bring up our girls to know they're powerful. Here's another thing that happens. When a male leader leads, he leads for everybody. When I do something, they come up to me and say, thanks for what you did for women's tennis.
Wow.
Women always just are leaders for women. That is baloney. Because what does that do to us? That keeps our marketplace half as big. That keeps our marketplace half as big psychologically. It gets me crazy. We have to change that. I've helped tennis. I helped get pro tennis, which helped the men more than the women. And the men, I wanted the men and women together as an association, as a union, and the men rejected us. That's the reason we have a women's tour. I wanted us to be together. I always want, team tennis is my real love. And that's where we have men and women equally on a team. And that's the way I want the world to look. And also a boy or a girl can come and identify with somebody that's playing, at least by gender. Well, now we have more gender, so I've got to. Right. No, but we had Renee Richards play in the 70s, and she's a transgender. She was Richard Raskin, so I don't know if you know about Renee Richards, Dr. Renee Richards. She's brilliant, ophthalmologist, absolutely brilliant. She's my ophthalmologist, but she just retired. You know, my partner, Ilana, I don't know if Ilana's here or not. I think she is, but.
When do you think we're going to have a woman in charge of this country?
Well, when I was about 15, I had a very elder, kind of my age woman come to me when I was 15 and say, I hope you get to see a woman president, because I'm not going to. And I think I'm going to be maybe talking to a 15-year-old the same way, unfortunately. I hope I get to see, because you know there's some women that are qualified. Because that's always the next thing. Oh, are they qualified? And I know when I meet a Sia, I know which is like every guy's always qualified. I mean, please. So anyway, so anyway, I don't know. What do you think?
This room exists to make that possibility much more imminent.
I don't know. I don't know. I wish we had more time. I'd love to listen.
Well, we will open it up for questions and answers. So I think we're going to have folks. So I'll ask one or two more questions, and we'll take questions from the audience. There actually was just a recent story in Forbes that ranked, I think, the top 100 athletes.
We didn't make it this year.
There were no women on the list.
First time in a long time.
How does that happen?
Because we don't make the money. People don't want us as much as boys. Boys like to hang out with the guys, and they always justify it. Always justify it. Like they'll say, "Oh, it's good for us. We've done research on it." They didn't do any research on it. The CEO wants to go hang out with Roger Federer or Tiger Woods or one. Okay, that's the way it really works. I've been in it. I've lived it. Here's when we know we have a chance to get a sponsorship. Ilana, my partner, does all the work because she's great at sales. In fact, her dad never got one dime in salary, but he always worked on commission only in South Africa. She's South African. And he was #1 every year. So it's in her blood. But here's what we always ask when we go to meet with a company. Oh, how's your family? Do you have children? If they have no girls, we usually don't get the deal. If they have a daughter, or they're very influenced by their wife or their grandmother or somebody in their life from a woman, we have a chance. Usually they'll give women less than they'll give men because it's been teed up that way. It's just culturally. Now, some of you may come from countries that are more socialistic, and usually they're smaller countries, Sweden or those where it's pretty much equal, I guess, isn't it, by gender? I know I'm asking to somebody from one of those countries, like Iceland or what? Iceland, right? But it's usually a smaller, homogeneous, like speaks the like, I have found. Have you found that?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a lot of people of color in Iceland? No, right. You'll find, like, Denmark's the happiest country in the world. It's easy peasy. Like speaks to like, not very many people, and it's easier, I think.
Yeah.
When you have different cultures crashing into each other, it takes more compassion, more empathy, I don't know about more, but you've got to have those qualities. Very much so, to try to see their side of something, not your side, or try to convince someone you're right. Learn about them. There's 3 things that I always talk about in commencement speeches. I just did Northwestern last year. I didn't do one this year. What's happening? No, I only do one. So anyway, there's 3 things. Ed Woolard, who used to be the CEO of DuPont, he was a mentor of mine late in my business life. And I said to Ed, Ed, I want 3 bullets, 3 things I can say that'll make it easy peasy, simple, about people who really have success. And I don't mean outward success, I mean inner success. Inner success and outer success, both. And many of you, I know, have this. So we came up with these 3 things, not necessarily in this order. Relationships are everything. Keep learning and keep learning how to learn. And be a problem solver. When you see someone who's usually pretty happy and successful in life, I guarantee you one of those will always, one of those 3 will resonate with you. You'll notice in them. And just like each one of you, you know how important relationships are. And you know the relationship with these young girls, these girls you're trying to help be better in every way, better citizens, full of confidence, know what your gifts are, what your strengths are, play to them. That's where sports teach you. You always play to your strengths. We practice our strengths every single day. Do you know everybody talks about practicing about their weaknesses?
Yeah.
No. Really concentrate on what they do great, and then make the other aspects adequate. They're not going to be as good as this, but make them adequate. Like if I'm in a match and I have to hit a shot with my weakest shot at a moment of truth, because there's usually 2 or 3 points, only 2 or 3 points in a match that make the difference. And I know that I have to, that's my moment of truth. I've got to make this shot or else I'm probably not going to, the outcome's not going to be great. It might be my weakest, but is it adequate? Is it good enough? I mean, I remember playing Tracy Austin. You guys don't even know who these people are.
Yes,
probably.
we do. Yes,
You're
we
so
do.
young. Anyway, Tracy Austin was the youngest #1 player in the world at 16. So I'm playing her at Wimbledon. I'm more than twice her age by this time. Do you know how that feels when you're doing media every day after a match? Oh, you're more than twice her age. Oh, when are you going to retire? You know, like when are you going to retire? I don't know. You know, it's like, please don't talk to me about retirement. First of all, I don't believe in the word retirement. I call it transition. You know, it's a new chapter, right? New chapter. So anyway, I got down. There was this one point to my weakest shot. I had to hit a forehand down the line. It came at an ankle that I don't like. And I knew this was the moment of truth. I had either was going to make it or miss it. And if I made it, I knew that I had it. And she knew I was going to hit cross court most likely. I had to go up the line because I knew she knew I was going to go cross court. And this is happening in less than a nanosecond. I mean, this is going boom, 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 like that. So I hit up the line and it barely made it in. And she looked at me and she put her hands on her and she goes, and we get along because she grew up very close to where I'm Long Beach, California, and she's in Rolling Hills. And she did a 4th grade report on me.
Oh my gosh.
And she called our home in the old days when you didn't have cell phones, and she talked to my dad, I guess. She said it was really great, you know. But I said, well, how'd you do? And she says, I got an A-. And she's such a perfectionist, Tracy. She's like crazy. She goes, I got an A-. I go, you'd never get an A-. She says, I did it because my margins weren't right. The margins. She said everything else was an A+. So she's still upset about it. She's still, I mean, we're both old now. Well, she's older. I'm old. But so she goes, I can't believe I got an A- on that report. That's so sweet, though. I mean, here these kids, you know, I'm still doing these. Kids will call me, or I'll do interviews with them at like 8 years old and 10 years old. They're so sweet.
So one more question before we take
here
questions
we go.
from the
Let's
audience.
do a question or whatever you want.
I just have to ask you, are you heartened by what's happening today in terms of the Me Too movement? Is this a good thing that you're happy is happening, where more women are finding their voice on issues that heretofore have not really been spoken about?
Well, you and I have talked about getting the girls to find their voice. And the Me Too, I know Tarana Burke quite well. In fact, our Billie Jean King leadership gave her $100,000 to start her Me Too office, okay? So I met with her. But what people don't understand is Me Too is about men also. This is about abuse. And I don't care where. And when you're ready, only your body will tell you when you're ready. You need to talk about it. We need to talk about it, whoever, whatever. So please don't think this is a women's thing. This is everybody's thing. So if a guy's been abused, it is horrible, and he needs to tell his story. So please don't think it's just for women. It happened to start with a woman, and here we go again. Oh, women started, it must be a women's thing. No, it's an everything, everybody. So I think that's really important, but I think to your point, Ian, it's such a relief to them and to find their voice, to have the courage to do this. It also starts their healing a lot of times, which is really important. I've had 25 years of psychotherapy. And it's really, that's another thing. I don't know if any of you are therapists, but they've made the difference in my life. But I was talking to my psychotherapist about the brain and the way girls' brains, she just told me this, and I don't know, I'd love your opinion on this, that boys are into the science earlier, but the girls' brains, the way they function, we're better at penmanship and sitting there and doing that earlier, but that around 5th or 6th grade is when we should be hitting them with the science and the STEM like really hard, because that's the moment when they start to believe they can do this for some reason. It's the way our brains develop, the way boys' brains develop. I just got a little bit of a discussion on that, and I haven't done it long enough yet, but I'm really interested in that, because I think the timing of when you say something is really important too. So I don't know, do you know what I'm talking about yet?
No, I mean, it's one of the reasons we start so early, because if you look at a lot of data.
You can't lose when you have it around you.
No.
You can't lose. I noticed it in the classroom. I was like this. They have stuff all over the wall. I'm like, if I was in that room, I'd be so interested in everything. I'm like this. No, but I'm like that anyway. I'm curious. So curiosity is important too. But I don't know. I just think that it's.
Yeah, that's great.
I need to learn about the brain part. If any of you know it. No, I think it's important though, because it'll help me help them.
Do we have any curious questioners in the room?
Somebody does.
All right.
No mic. It looks good though. It looks really good. Very good. Oh, you're on it. Excellent.
What's the W for?
The W is for the Windsor School in Boston.
All right.
Okay.
Billie Jean, you are my shiro.
Oh, thank you, sweet. Thank you.
And I'm quite certain my wife is extremely envious that I'm getting to ask you a question right now. This is about women and cupcakes. I've been coaching for a long time, and I struggle at the fact that we can't get women to put a whistle around their neck and a clipboard in their hand. But at so many different levels, there's an assumption that men can coach. So my question to you is, how do we get more women to stop making cupcakes and start coaching and
Maybe
being
we should
a leader?
do both.
Yeah, that's true.
No. A lot of it is about if you can see it, you can be it. We have a terrible drought of women coaches because we're not chosen. It's still the old boy network that hires their cronies, and that is a challenge. In fact, colleges has been terrible in this country. We used to have a lot before we went with the NCAA back in the old days. I won't get into it because there's too many countries here, different countries. There's 20 different countries here. It's fantastic. So I think the lack of seeing it is hurting us a lot. So anytime you can get someone to step up with the whistle around their neck and show, and the girls see that, then they'll think that's a great, maybe it's a pathway for them to be a coach, because it really is gratifying. It's fantastic. But even women's teams, if we take universities, they have more and more men coaching them. What happens when a sport becomes bigger or more successful, the men follow the money better, and they like to be the star. And so if you notice in women's basketball, there's a lot of men coaches, because the women's collegiate basketball is very big. And that's where more and more men want to get into it. And then ADs, that's athletic directors who head up all the sports in a college or a high school. It's always he's. There's only like 7 women, I think, in all the country or something, at the D1 anyway. So if a guy is going to usually choose a guy if he has to make a decision. Now, some men are changing that and realizing they need to have more of a 50-50 situation, but most of the time they like to help their friends out. And that's the challenge. So we need more and more, and I don't really know the answer. Do you have a suggestion?
I think we need to push women. I think we need to push mothers, whether we're dealing with parents, whether it's at the local level for, a travel sport or Little League. I mean, if you look, there are always men out there coaching.
But who gets them to the game? The mother. Yeah. My mother, my brother and I have decided she was the saint of the family. She's the one that got us to my tournament or his baseball game. That's 2 kids, different genders, doing 2 different sports. And you might have kids who are doing art and music, same thing. It's all. So I just think we need to, I think it's your point. You guys are the educators. It's your point. You make it when they're young. Yeah. Because Mrs. Johnson, my 12th grade teacher, was my physical education teacher. But I found some of the women were very envious at the same time too, but I think that would change if there were more jobs. I think that hurts, but I think to you, all of you, that's a good point to point out, because coaching is a great career, actually. It's very gratifying. It's like teaching. It's being a teacher again. It just happens to be around a sport. That's why I want girls to be in sports. They learn. There's 84% of women in C-suites, the high ones, right? 84% identify with being an athlete. 84%. That tells you what happened to that girl. That girl believes in herself. Why? It's also when you use all of your body and your mind and your soul. Girls are taught not to trust our bodies as well, by the way. And sports teach you to trust your body, because your body speaks to you all the time. And it makes you strong and resilient. And that's why I want girls to pick a sport. They don't have to be any good. They just learn these lessons in life. But I don't know. I don't really have an answer for the coaching, because the Women's Sports Foundation which I started in '74, just did a $5 million Tara Vanderveer award, not awards, but fund. $5 million we're going to put into women's coaching, trying to get more women at the collegiate level. Just FYI.
Yeah. Thank you.
A quick note. One of the reasons we love our all-girls schools is that in class, the top science student is a girl, right? The top math student is a girl. Like every leadership role is inhabited by a girl, so there's no misperception.
She's center stage. Girls are going to be center stage no matter what.
Yep.
That's really important.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Wendy Hill. I'm the head of the Agnes Irwin School outside Philadelphia. Nice. I'm also an emeritus professor of neuroscience at Lafayette College, so if you ever want to know more about neuroscience, I would love to teach you, Billie.
Then you can teach me about that. No, I'm serious.
And Lafayette? I am too. I am too. But I do also have a question.
That's your life.
One of the things that we've talked about at this conference is helping girls to be more comfortable taking risks and risk-taking. And I wonder if you could speak to how being an athlete helped you to take risks that then have generalized to other things like business and so forth.
I use everything I learned in sports, I use every day in life. Business, everything. It doesn't matter what it is. And what it teaches you is to Okay, every time I hit a ball, I'm taking a risk. Okay, every time the ball comes to me, which it never comes twice the same way either, which is great. And I have to make a decision, and then every shot, every ball I hit has a consequence. So you learn. This is another thing. I don't use the word failure. I use the word feedback. Another word I use is could instead of should. If I'm talking to another athlete particularly, if I say you could do this instead of you should. Should's so judgmental. But if you say could, it just takes the heat off psychologically. I don't know. Think about it. So I think what it does is it's okay if you don't win every time. We learn that we bounce back the next day. And if you listen to stories of people who have made it big, particularly financially in life, I'm not so big on, I don't care if they have a lot of money. I want to know what kind of person they are. But unfortunately today, everything's judged too much on if someone's a billionaire. They're great, they're great. Really? How do you know that? But I think I think sports just teach it's okay. You're not going to win every time. What do? You keep learning and keep learning how to learn from that experience. And I think if you teach a young girl to be resilient in school and whatever activities we're doing, it's okay. Just keep, I don't know, I'd rather hear you because you know about the brain better than I do.
I'll take you up on that.
All right. I didn't really help you. That was terrible.
What's that? One more question?
Billie Jean
No
King.
Hi.
Oh.
What are we doing?
Marjorie says we're getting very close on time.
Okay,
So we're
one
getting
more or whatever.
so
a couple more.
one more
Let's
question.
Go. I take too long when I answer. It's my fault. Go
Okay.
ahead. Let's see if we can go fast.
I'll go fast. Jen Green from Girls Athletic Leadership Schools based in Denver.
Wow.
And also in Los Angeles. Thank you. We've talked a lot in this forum about collaboration, cooperation, caring. I'm wondering if you have any special messages for girls and teachers of girls about competition.
Here's what happens with girls. Boys, men are used to hierarchy. They're used to the coach yelling and screaming at them and da-da. In the locker room you see these scenes. Girls are not too good at that because we don't like that. We like to collaborate, like you said. Like to be, hi, how's it going? Here's what girls do on a team. I don't know if you found this. A coach will talk about one of the players being outstanding. They're really the franchise player. They're the player. Get the ball to that person, right? Let's say it's a basketball team. You know what the girl will do? That they talk to the teacher's all excited about, the coach. She'll talk to the coach later when nobody's around and say, don't point me out like that. I'm just one of the girls. Don't do that to me. They have to stop that. You are the star of the team. We are going to get the ball to you, just like they go to LeBron James in basketball. You're the star, and that's it, and it's okay to be like that. They think it's not. We got to be perfect. We got to put somebody else first. Stop it. And if you teach them when they're young, they'll get it. If you could put them in sports, and you say, oh, this is our, God, you were great today, and then she goes, and I still do that. I'm a kid of the 50s. So you've got to teach them it's okay to be the star sometimes. And sometimes we're not the star. We have to be the support person. It's okay. This is life, right? And I think you just have to keep teaching them it's okay. And you got to keep encouraging them it's okay to be the one or not the one. Just get in there and help the end result. That's our job in a sport. Win the darn game. Let's go.
All right.
Thank you.
Give it up. Two more. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we have
That's it.
to
Go. What's the question?
Billie Jean's overruling
Billie
me.
Jean
Sorry.
said I could ask, so.
No, but we're trying to make a train. That's why they were trying.
My name's Emily Hill. I grew up in Long Beach, California, and I remember getting my yearbook and turning to the back where it has the page of all of the famous alumni from your school. And the entire page was filled with men, except for one picture.
What school?
Long Beach Poly.
Yes!
And the picture was...
We went to the same high school, you guys.
Was you. The picture was you. And I
I'm
remember...
the only one?
You were the only woman on the page. Yeah, well, I mean,
terrible.
this was a while ago, so like 80-something. Anyway, I remember going home, and this was before internet, right? And asking my mom, who is this person on the page? And having that rich discussion with her, and she told me about just the miraculous changes that the entire society was feeling once you were in the spotlight. And I want to say thank you for that. And I want to ask, how do we create that resilience in our young girls who maybe don't have the anger or the passion or the fire that comes out on the surface?
It's not anger. It's confidence. It's being empowered. I don't feel angry. I feel empowered. And sometimes
I'm angry.
Angry. You know what?
I feel angry.
Angry is okay. Angry equals power because people have to get angry. They have uprisings. When you talk about racism, do you think they just sit back? That anger, they use it in a positive way. Anger can be very good as long as you use it in a positive way. So stay angry. Thank you. That was really sweet. Go Jackrabbits! Green and gold!
Okay, I'm going to be really fast.
Final
I'll be really
question.
quick. So, Amanda Neal from Ursuline Academy in Wilmington, Delaware, and I was very moved by your I'm Sorry story and our response as girls. I suffer from that affliction sometimes myself. And so, really quickly, I'd love to hear when you hear that in a young woman that you are working with, what is your response?
I say, I have to talk to you about that, I'm sorry. And I tell them, you and I have to stop saying that.
Great.
Because I do the same thing. We have to stop. Just stop. It's just like you teach yourself to say stop sometimes. You know, that's one of the ones I'd say, we're going to say stop. That's it. We're going to put a different word in. We're going to say nothing or put a different word instead of the word sorry. That's it. We're going to do that, okay? We're going to help each other. We're going to do this. Let's go.
Okay.
Dream, dare, do.
Okay.
The 3 Ds. Let's go.
So,
I love it.
so I'm actually really sorry that we have to bring this to a close.
Me too. We could have gone all day.
We could go on a while.
Maybe 2 years from now, we're going to do it again. Maybe.
All right. Okay.
Why not?
You said it here first.
And then I want to learn from you, though.
Thank you, everyone, and please join me in thanking Billie Jean King.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, you guys. You did great. Thank you. Woo! Go, go, go. Good luck. Can you? Thank you. You guys are great.
Someone else close? Is this the close? Well, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you to Megan and the entire National Coalition. This has been incredible, and thank you.